Hi, this is Welcome to Self, and I'm your host, Dr. Hayley D. Quinn, the anti-burnout business coach. I'm a speaker, author, former clinical psychologist, and late identified ADHDer. Welcome to Self is a podcast for business owners like you who want success, but not at the cost of your well-being. This is about transforming self and transforming business. I'll be here to remind you that you're human first, and as well as being a business owner, you have different roles in your life that need your attention. And to manage those well, you need to take care of yourself in the best way possible. Here you'll learn about practices that'll help you navigate not just your business, but your non-work life as well. And you'll realise that you're not alone in the ways you struggle. You'll have your curiosity piqued on various topics as I chat with wonderful guests and bring you solo bite-sized episodes. I'm here for service-based business owners and entrepreneurs like you to help you increase your self-care and compassion, change your relationship with yourself and your business, and elevate your business to a new level so you can live the full and meaningful life you desire. This is a place of nourishment, growth, and helpful information. A place where you can learn ways to assist you and your business to thrive. We'll talk all things mindset, strategy, and well-being, and I'm so excited you're here. If you haven't already, go and hit subscribe so you don't miss an episode. So let's get started. Hi, and welcome to another episode, and this is episode 100. I can't believe it. I really honestly cannot believe that we're already at 100 episodes. I started this podcast back in 2021. We were pretty much at the start of the COVID pandemic, and it was a podcast that was aimed at therapists so that they could really take care of themselves. And over time, the podcast, one, changed its name, and two, evolved to be broader in the target audience of business owners. But it really has stayed true to the underlying philosophy of the importance of taking care of ourselves. And that's a thread that works through all the work that I do. I'm so appreciative to every single one of you for tuning in, whether that was at the start back in 2021 or somewhere along the way. Knowing that this podcast is helping people means a lot to me. And just having the opportunity to share some of the things I've learned, one, through my studies when I was a psychologist, and two, through my own lived experience of experiencing significant burnout and recovering from that, and then going on to make changes in the way that I work and live so that my well-being is held as a priority and I have a life that allows me to thrive. It's really great to be able to pass on that information and share that knowledge and some of my wisdom so that you don't have to make the mistakes I made and you don't have to go through these things alone either. I think the more we talk about it, and I'm so grateful to all my guests from across all the seasons, and at the moment the guests that are appearing on this season who are being really vulnerable and really raw and honest about their experiences of burnout. It's a really hard thing to go through. It can be a really difficult thing to talk about. So I'm so appreciative of the people who have been willing to come on and share their stories with me. One of the other things I wanted to talk about, and because I am in this celebratory mode of, this is 100 episodes and I'll certainly be celebrating that, I want to talk about the importance of celebration. It's something, again, that features throughout all the work that I do, whether that's one-on-one with my clients, whether that's in my group coaching program, Time to Thrive. I certainly talk about it in the book, the upcoming book, From Self-Neglect to Self-Compassion as well. And I think it is really important. But why is celebrating so important? Why not just go from setting a goal, meet the goal, set a new goal, keep moving on, and just go from these point to point without stopping and looking. Well, we could do that. We could absolutely do that. And I think a lot of us do. Oftentimes I'll speak to people and they've set these goals for themselves. They've worked really hard to achieve them. And then when they do, they don't stop to acknowledge that. They just move on to the next goal. And I think we can do that. But if we do keep doing that, soon we can start to feel like we're never quite getting to where we want to be. It's never quite enough. There's always something next. There's always something we could be doing. So one of the things I like to stop and think about is, what would your younger self think about what you've just achieved? You might have achieved something that you have been thinking about for a long time. You might have achieved something that you've been thinking about for a short time. But what would your younger or past self think about the achievement that you've just managed? What have been the things that you've had to overcome to get to where you want to be? Maybe you've had to adjust your mindset. Maybe you've had to take care of certain situations before you could do the things. Maybe you've had to overcome some pretty difficult obstacles. So next time you've reached a goal, how about you stop and think about what it took you to get there, what you had to do, and how it feels to actually have achieved that goal now, rather than minimizing it and moving on to the next thing. I know that's something I used to be really guilty of. I don't really like that term, guilty of, but that's something I used to do a lot, is I would just meet the next goal and move straight along. How much more motivated do you think you'd feel if you actually allowed yourself to acknowledge what you've done? When we pay attention to the things we've done, when we pay attention to what it has taken us to get to where we want to be, when we acknowledge our capabilities, our strengths, then I think it can add to the motivation of what we want to do next. We create like a history of experiences that we can look upon and say, well, I managed to do that, so maybe I'll be okay doing this. I know in my experience, I find that really helpful. Have a think about it. It might be something you find helpful as well. The other thing about celebration as well is it's fun. Why would we not want to celebrate? I have celebrations that range from little mini celebrations right through to bigger things that I want to do. And it might be as simple as, and this might sound a bit silly, but bear with me, giving myself a high five. It's like, whoa, well done, Hayley. It could simply be some words of acknowledgement for yourself. Oh my gosh, darling, you worked so hard and you did that thing that perhaps you didn't think you were going to be able to do. Or you did that thing that you've really wanted to do. Many people that know me know that another one for me is celebrating with some beautiful chocolate. It might be something as simple as taking a break to slow down and acknowledge and making a cup of my favourite tea. It might be taking myself out for a massage to celebrate, or maybe out for a dinner with a friend or my husband. It might be something like booking a trip that you've always wanted to go on, or buying yourself an outfit. It might be throwing yourself a party for something to celebrate. It really doesn't matter what it is. It's not whether it's some big celebration. It might be something really tiny. It's more about the process of allowing yourself to slow down, acknowledge what you've done, and celebrate that before getting busy with the next thing. So you might like to have a think about what would be some things that you could do to celebrate your achievements or when you reach goals along the way for yourself. And you might want to have a variety of them, some that are really little, some that are bigger. It's entirely up to you. This is personal. It doesn't matter what it is. Like I say, it might just be slowing down and acknowledging with some words for yourself, some gratitude for where you're at, acknowledgement of how hard you've worked or what you overcame. It really doesn't matter. What matters is you actually allow yourself to celebrate. And if that brings up discomfort, get curious about that. What is it that's making you uncomfortable about celebrating yourself? The more you can know yourself and understand yourself, the more you'll be able to incorporate these kind of things into your life. Another thing I'm celebrating is it's now less than a month until my book From Self-Neglect to Self-Compassion will be available for pre-orders. Part of me can't believe that either. I started writing the book on the 12th of March of this year, and we're already talking about pre-orders, which is just like wild to me. And trust me, there have been lots of little celebrations along the way, and there are going to be lots more celebrations as we go as well. And there'll be some celebrations that I would love you to be a part of, and I'll let you know about those as we go. I really, really want to thank Nissa from Nissa Ray Recordings. Nissa has been with me since the start of the podcast and has been an absolute pleasure to work with, and has been my audio producer and the producer of the music for the podcast as well. And more recently has also helped me with the recordings of the meditations that are within the book. So I have deep gratitude for Nissa for all the work she's done on the podcast with me. And also to my VA, Aliana, who has been helping bring the podcast to you for the past, goodness me, probably 18 months now, maybe a little bit more actually. And I'm so grateful for everything that she does. Aliana is responsible for getting this out to you and also for turning the content from the podcast into some of those clips that you see on social media. So my deep, deep thanks to Aliana as well. And all of my guests, right from the beginning, right through. Probably part of my favourite things about the podcast are interviewing guests. I always learn something from the people that come on the podcast, and I'm always so grateful to how open people are to share their wisdom and their experiences so that you, the listener, can learn, and I guess as well, not just learn, but feel validated in some things and also seen and understood about some of the experiences perhaps you're having that you recognize other people are having as well. Because I think those shared stories, those shared experiences are so important in helping us feel like we're not alone in the things that we struggle with. So thank you to all my guests. It's been an absolute pleasure. And most of all, thank you to you, the listener, because if you weren't here listening, there'd be no point in doing the podcast. And I know I've said that before, but I really do appreciate it. I love it when I hear from people of how they're finding the podcast and what's been helpful. If there's a particular episode that you've enjoyed, or, I've started doing these reflective questions in the podcast now, and sometimes people will reach out and just let me know that they've found a particular question really helpful. So if that's you, please reach out. Let me know how you're finding things. Let me know if you're enjoying the podcast. And I'm always open as well to topics that people want to hear about or particular guests that people would love to hear from as well. So never feel like you can't just send me a DM or an email. If you're on the podcast mailing list, you can always just hit reply and send me a message. I love hearing from people. So here we are at episode 100. Season 9. I don't know how many guests at this point. I probably should have looked that up and had a count, but I didn't. But yeah, season 9, 100 episodes. And who knows how many episodes we'll end up with. I don't know. None of us know what the future holds for us, and I don't know how long the podcast will go for. But at this rate, I can't see it stopping. So there's plenty of time for us to be together and cover different topics and really focus in on how we can take care of ourselves whilst we're doing all the other things that we need to do, both in our businesses, at work, and in our life. So I'm excited for what's coming next. We've got some amazing guests. We have actually, I was chatting to Nissa, and we have actually already recorded 100 episodes before this, because we've actually recorded episode 101 already, which is a guest episode that's going to be out next week. And it really is a great episode, and you don't want to miss it. So this technically is the recording of 101 episodes, but it's officially episode 100. And this is the episode that I will be absolutely celebrating. I record a lot of these in advance, so I'm going to celebrate twice. I'm going to have a celebration after I finish recording this, and then I'm going to have a celebration again on the day that this airs, which will be hopefully when you're listening to it. The other thing we need to do is draw the winner, because you may be aware that there was a post put out and information on one of the earlier episodes that I would be doing a draw for somebody to win a one-on-one coaching session with me to celebrate, or part of the celebrations of 100 episodes. So I've got all the names in a little brown paper bag, because I couldn't find anything else that was suitable. And I like things to be on brand, and I didn't have a purple bowl. So what do you do? So I am going to do that now. I'm going to draw the winner, and I'll announce it here, obviously. And I will also share it on my Instagram account. So if you're not following over there, you can go follow at Dr. Hayley D. Quinn on Instagram. So give it a little shake. I'm not going to look. Just going to have a little ruffle around and pull one. Oh, no, got two. There we go. Pull one out. And the winner is, I don't have a drum roll. Maybe Nissa can add a drum roll. Who knows? The winner for the one-on-one coaching is Belinda from Flourish Beyond. Congratulations, Belinda. I will get in touch with you and let you know. So you might find out before the podcast airs, and we can get that booked in. I'm really excited. Thank you again to all of you who have tuned in and listened to the podcast, who have left a rating and review, whether that's on Apple or Spotify. And sorry to the people who've had so much trouble with the Apple reviews. That's actually really frustrating, right? People seem to have had a lot of bother with those. So if you did miss out on that, my apologies. And if I do another draw in the future, it will not involve trying to do a review on Apple, I can promise you. So thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you found the episode helpful in terms of really reflecting on how much you celebrate or don't, and different ways that you can do that. And maybe the reflective question I will leave you for today is, when was the last time you really celebrated yourself? And what would it be like to do that more frequently? Until next week, go well and go gently with yourselves. Bye. Thanks for sharing this time with me today. I hope it's been helpful and supportive. If there's been something in this episode that you have found helpful, I encourage you to share it with your business besties so they can benefit too. Shares, ratings and reviews really help to increase awareness and reach of the podcast, meaning more people can benefit from the information. I really appreciate you taking the time. If you'd like to know about the ways we can work together, check out my website at drhayleydquinn.com. I'll pop the link in the show notes, and you can also join my mailing list from there and be kept up to date with all that is happening. I do need to say, because legal stuff, this podcast is solely for the purpose of education and entertainment. This podcast is not intended as a substitute for individual advice or advice of health professionals or other qualified professionals. Okay, now we've got that formal stuff out of the way. I love hearing from listeners, so don't be shy. Reach out and let me know your thoughts on the episode or what else you'd like to hear about. I wish you well in your relationship with yourself and your business, and may you go well and go gently. And remember, if you thrive, your business will too.